I left my hometown of Boise, Idaho, for the big city and bright lights of Seattle, Washington. Being young and impetuous, I didn't do much research before moving. I was surprised to find Seattle was in a recession due to massive layoffs at Boeing. Everyone was leaving just as I was coming to look for a job and start a new life. It was a very challenging time in my life. I was couch surfing at friends' homes as I struggled to get established. I kept hitting brick wall after brick wall trying to land a job. My resources were running out. If I couldn't find a job, I was going to have to go back home. Desperate, I searched for spiritual solutions to solve my problems. I tried the Theosophical Society, New Aging, and psychics. My obstacles remained no matter what I did. I was sinking into what Buddhists call the 6 lower paths. My karma continued to stalk me. One day, someone handed me this card with these strange words on it. They told me if I said these words, I could become happy. Of course, I dismissed it immediately. I had given up hope of landing a professional job and decided to take a flower arranging course as therapy to soothe my soul. There I was introduced again to Buddhism and went to my first meeting, where they were seated on the floor, reciting those strange words again in front of an altar with a scroll in it. It was very different from going to the Greek Orthodox Church. I was challenged to try chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for 3 months to see what happened. Because I felt a spark of joy when I said those words, I gave it a try. One by one, the brick walls dissolved. I went from a temp job at the Census Bureau with no future to a temp job at Pierce County in Tacoma, Washington, running a census project, hired by one of my fellow University of Idaho geographers who was the planning director. From there, I was hired by King County in Seattle as a community planner. I was back in my former profession. From that point onward, my life was unstoppable. I had the confidence from chanting that I was finally in charge of my life. My environment no longer controlled me. Because I had no other explanation for all this good fortune pouring into my life, I converted to Nichiren Buddhism in 1988 and have changed much karma and received many benefits that have transformed my life for the better. This story is about how my mom completed her last days on earth, departed for home to begin a new chapter. I moved back home to Boise about 12 years ago to assist my ailing parents in navigating their way through a number of health challenges. Mom in early stages of dementia, and Dad with multiple symptoms from his work in the shoe repair business. In the Buddhism that I practice, we say the deeper the muddy swamp or problems, the more beautiful the lotus blossoms. No problems, no lotus. It turned out to be a transformational time for all of us and one of the most remarkable experiences of my life. Though our philosophies were worlds apart, we managed to coexist peacefully. Can you tell me what's your involvement with starting the Greek church in Boise?
I was appointed by the council, Greek church council there, we had to get 15 members to become a chapter.
Okay.
So it took a lot of doing to get 15 people to sign up because they weren't sure we'd make it here.
Can you tell me what's been in your involvement with the Greek choir?
Well, I'm the only alto. Without me, there's no harmony.
Our family had a strong work ethic as small business owners and children of Greek immigrants. Mom was a beautician turned savvy businesswoman, way ahead of her time. She owned 2 beauty salons, several apartment buildings, and speculated in real estate. Over the next 12 years, our family reality drastically changed. My parents transitioned from independent living at home into nursing care facilities. My siblings, John and Maria, who lived in different cities, visited regularly and helped out as much as they could. I spent a lot of time in nursing care facilities.
Is everybody happy? I really gotta know. Is everybody ready to let your gloomies go?
While in assisted living, Mom slipped on the floor and broke her back. She ended up in a wheelchair. Mom struggled to adapt her impatient type A personality to dependent wheelchair life. It was frustrating for both of us. After Dad died, my mother remained in skilled nursing care, sinking deeper into dementia. My siblings provided caregiver backup, but in reality, it was just me and Mom. As her primary caregiver, I saw her almost every night. Evenings, I would wheel her out to our regular spot for fresh air. We discussed many things. She often said she was ready to go and wanted to know what I would do after she was gone. I mentioned that we would be reunited again and again throughout eternity. Next time, I would be the parent. In reality, this role reversal came to pass. Us kids stepped in, taking over almost all of her decision-making after she was declared incompetent. I dressed, undressed, and washed her up, returning the favor she had done for me as a child. Denise is a friend of mine who is a medical intuitive.
I'm Denise, and Stacy and I met about 20 years ago in Puerto Vallarta. I'm sure you remember. We were at a Carolyn Mace, Dr. Norm Shealy conference on medical intuition. And as I developed my various workings and teachings and practices, what I needed more people to practice on, and your parents offered themselves up. And for many years, I worked with your dad and your mom and you. And it really wasn't until I started working with your mom more and actually started working with distance healing. So it wasn't until I developed those skills that I was able to connect with your mother. My experience about death and energy work is sort of an ongoing development for me. I've thought of working in hospice. I feel that hospice is a good place to do energy work, but at this point, I'm not a transition energy worker, other than the experience I had with your mom. I've been working on your mom for years, as you know. She was one of my case studies. At her 90th birthday, you were pushing her in a chair and you were taking her outside, and you were giving a great amount of hospice type care to your mom at that time. And for my relationship with you, I was in awe. You moved your residence, you moved everything to be close to your mom so that you could be with her the last few years of her life. When I would connect with her, or when she would reach out to me in the last 72 hours or so, she would be aware that she was transitioning. And I didn't really know what to do about all that. I didn't really know how to help her transition other than to keep her pain free. And I also felt the mystic aspect of her husband waiting for her to come back, to come home. And for me, it created calm. It created a calm that this was my first experience being there in that moment where that spark of soul takes over and releases itself from the body. And your mother did that too with great elegance. She was very calm in her passing, and she was very aware of her passing.
One day, Denise called me with an urgent message from my spirit guides. They were warning me of big changes ahead in the next 6 months, and I needed to get ready. They felt that I wasn't prepared for what was to come, and I was to start making new plans for my life. I found their message curious because at the time, my mom's condition was fairly stable, and I was entrenched in my caregiver's evening routine. Facing multiple health challenges myself, it was easier to focus on my mother's failing health rather than my own. From this limited codependent vantage point, I couldn't see very far into the future for a different life. No wonder my spirit guide spoke with Denise. Later that year, the spirit guide's predictions started coming true. Mom's condition unexpectedly took a turn for the worse. Because of her declining health, she was put on hospice with 6 months left to live. Tired of being dependent upon others, she started opting out of nursing home life on her own terms.
Home, a home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, right where the skies are not cloudy all day. How often at night, when the heavens are bright with the light of the glittering stars, have I stood there amazed and asked as I gazed if their glory exceeds that of...
She refused to eat much, losing weight. From that point onward, our lives were punctuated by LAS, Mom's Last Greek Festival. How do you feel sitting here at the festival after 33 years of the Greek Festival? How has it been
I
going
feel
on?
very proud of the way it has expanded to where it has. We used to just use the church in the basement, and then this lot became available. We bought this lot. It accommodates our needs.
And what about that new hall, St.
Well,
Helens
I
Hall?
bought a lot of them. I put a lot of the money in the lot there.
And who did they name it after? It's named after St. Helen, isn't it?
I'm not a saint. My name is Helen. I'm far from a saint.
At Mom's 91st birthday, her fatigue and irritation with the dying process became more pronounced. When my cousin Kathy visited Mom on her birthday, she noticed a teddy bear and commented on what an unlikely fit it was for Mom's personality. As Mom grew weaker, I knew the end was in sight. One evening while watching a movie, she was having difficulty speaking, slurring her words, trying to sing along with me. It turned out to be our last movie. I didn't know Mom was having a series of small strokes, leaving her almost paralyzed. Later on, I reported to my brother that Mom was having difficulty speaking. The next day, my brother called with the news Mom had had a massive stroke and was lying unresponsive. Instead of running across the street, I lived across from the nursing home, I waited for Jane, one of Mom's nurses, who was to come over to my home and learn our Buddhist chant. Come in.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
Jane.
you?
I'm in the back.
Okay, ready to chant?
Yeah. Okay, come in this way.
All right,
We're gonna go ahead and chant.
Absolutely.
Got some beads for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ring the bell. We start by ringing the bell.
Yes.
Then we're gonna chant Nam Myo Renge Kyo for 5 minutes. Nam Myo Renge Kyo. 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 Nam Myo Renge. Afterwards, I thanked Jane for spiritually supporting Mom as she navigated to her next life. Jane was shocked when I told her Mom had had a massive stroke and was not responding. I walked to the nursing facility and into Mom's room. She was lying in bed, motionless. I approached her bedside and said, "Mom, it's Stacy." Much to my surprise, her eyes flew open, and for that instant she connected with me. Then her eyes shut and did not open again. Mom was being regularly hit with morphine. I was there when the hospice nurse arrived. I watched as she examined Mom and measured out her morphine dose. I asked how many people needed pain medication or morphine the last days of their life. Because in the movies, people seem to have a painless, drug-free death. She said about 90% of her hospice patients require medicating because when the organs start to shut down, it can become quite painful. Because of Mom's failing condition, I knew last rites needed to be done. Having never been in this position, I realized it was going to be me calling the Greek priest. I did, and he materialized instantly. We started singing the Greek liturgy. Even though Mom's eyes remained closed and she was comatose, she grew restless, raising her hands to her temple as recited the Greek song she knew by heart. She was tapping out the beat to the Theotokos song with our hands intertwined on her chest. My sister Maria arrived. Brother John flew in from Seattle, and I took a break and I went home. I called Denise and told her that Mom was taxiing for the runway. Later that night at home in my dream, I saw a brilliant light shoot up from the ground into the sky disperse, and begin pulsing in rhythm with the universe. I woke up startled, confused about what I saw. I called Denise to ask if Mom had died and described my dream. Denise said, "No, Mom wasn't dead yet. That was me clearing out a path for your mom to follow home. I don't want her to get lost." More family joined us at Mom's bedside. My siblings and I took turns sitting at her side. That night when alone with Mom, I chanted in her ear and told her to go ahead and go. I would be all right. I urged her to follow the light that Denise was showing her the way home. I went home exhausted, leaving my brother on death watch. My sleep was restless. I suddenly awoke at 12:03 a.m., sat up in bed, startled, when I received a text from my brother saying that Mom had passed peacefully at midnight. The word got out to family and friends of Mom's death. There was the funeral. When talking to one of my cousins, Maria, on my mom's side, she asked when my mom had died. I told her midnight. She said that that was interesting, as she had had a dream that night and her dead father appeared dressed up in his best suit, clutching a teddy bear. Maria had said that her sister Kathy noticed a teddy bear in Mom's room. Could it be the same one? I said, I don't know. I agreed. It was a strange coincidence, but I didn't understand what it meant. Once again, I turned to Denise to ask what the dream was about. She said it could be that her brother came to tell us that Mom had made it home and that the family had accepted her. So what is your take on where Mom ended up? Was it with Dad or what?
Oh, let's see. I just felt that your mom let go. And it was like, okay. And I just remember that, yeah, she went home. Now, whether your father was there as your father or as a spirit guide, whether her family was there in that personage, I can't tell you. But I can say that the energy of her life met her as she came through the veil, and there was great joy, great love in that frequency at that moment. She was not shuffled off to the side. Let's put it this way. When Helen arrived, she was met.
Home, a home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, right? Where the skies are not cloudy all day. How often at night, when the heavens are bright with the light of the glittering stars, have I stood there amazed and asked as I gazed if their glory exceeds that of ours. Here we go, come on. Oh,